As you can tell by the title, this is a video on my cancer story. If you're wanting to hear about a crazy cancer story, this probably is not the video for it. My cancer story is not, it's not dramatic, it's not crazy, it's just, I was very thankful that it was nothing too serious. I had a type of thyroid cancer, and if you don't know what your thyroid is, or even where it's at, it's right here, and it just controls, or has a lot to do with hormones, and it just helps you maintain like a healthy life. Like if you get your thyroid out, you're permanently on medication for the rest of your life to balance out hormones. My story starts about a year and a half ago. My cheerleading coach, she was having problems with her thyroid, but she didn't even know it. She lost a lot of weight. She was moody. She was just not herself. She wouldn't want to get out of bed some days. Some days she'd be happy-go-lucky. Some days it was just not the Wendy that I knew, and that took a toll on me. If you know anybody that is acting like that, please just be like, go get your thyroid checked, please. Basically, one day I was on the way to the gym, and for some reason I was like feeling my throat, and right here I still remember there was like a little lump, and I was like, okay, don't think that's very normal. So I went to the gym, I got Amber to feel it, and she was like, yeah, I don't have that. So I went home, I told my mom, we made an appointment. Basically, it was during the summer, last summer, and last summer was full of getting stuff ready for college, and like the program, I went to the surgical tech program, and for that program you have to have so much stuff done. There's paperwork on paperwork, there's background checks, drug tests, you have to go get shots because you're going to be in a hospital, you have to have certain immunity shots. There was and like that's doctor appointments, going to get shots. I went to the doctor, my just like basic family doctor, and her name was Jennifer, and I loved her. She felt it, and she was like, okay, we'll get you an appointment with the doctor, my surgeon. So I had a lump in my throat, and there's three things it could be. It could be a cyst, it could be a nodule, or it could be a tumor. If it would have been a cyst, they would have left it in because it's not, it doesn't harm you, and you just would have fine needle biopsies every 6 months. So I was like, I hope it's a cyst, but I really don't hope it's a cyst because I do not want to have that test done every 6 months. 2, it could be a nodule, which nodules can be cancerous or they can't be. And then a tumor, benign, malignant. So I got an appointment with the surgeon, and he felt it out, and he was the same surgeon that Wendy had, so I was super comfortable with his work, I guess. Before I go into all of my different doctor's appointments, having all these doctor appointments and then having all the other doctor's appointments I had for school was very overwhelming at the time, and I honestly cannot talk about my cancer story and not bring up my ex-boyfriend, because if it wasn't for him being there in my life at that time, not saying I wouldn't have made it, but he just was there all the time, and I'm grateful for that. After I went to my doctor's and she felt it, I was set up for an ultrasound on my neck, and you had to like lay on a table, and you had to be like hyperextended, and she like took pictures, and she was like pushing really hard on it. It was very uncomfortable. And then after those results, I went to my surgeon's office, like this is probably like the next week, and when I'm saying I had doctor's appointments on doctor's appointments, I'm not even exaggerating. It was so many. So I don't remember exactly how far everything was in between, but I went to his office. It's a camera, but it was like bendy like a spaghetti noodle. He stuck it up my nostril, and it went all the way down and to my thyroid, and he was like looking at it through a camera, and it was the strangest sensation. And he was debating about if he wanted to remove it or leave it, but it was close to my vocal cords. So what he did with the little camera is he kind of like, I guess, pushed it like against my vocal cords. And so while this thing is up my nose, down my throat, he asked me to say E, like the letter E, and it came out as like E. That's literally what I sounded like. And I had tears going down my eyes because I feel like I couldn't breathe. And like my parents were sitting in front of me. It was probably like, they were probably like, holy crap, you know, that's just one of those moments where it kind of got real. I was like, this is seriously something like pretty serious. Next, I had an MRI on my neck. And if you know, most people know what an MRI is. You lay in the bed, and you have to be super still. You cannot move at all. You cannot move at all. Since it was on my neck, like when people have stuff with their brain, like you see these like in the shows, like in Grey's Anatomy, you see it all the time, but they put like a little thing over your head. I'll insert the picture. That is the thing that kind of freaked me out the most because it just kind of made me feel super claustrophobic, and like I'm already in this like dome, and then I have this thing over my face and I have to be super still. It was just really hard, and I'm in there for like 15 minutes. The next thing is something that I hope I never ever have to experience again because it was terrible. They did a fine needle biopsy on it. So basically I'm laying on a table and they couldn't have my mom in the room. Like, I mean, I was 20, so it was not a big deal, like that big of a deal. But it's laying on the table, you have to have your neck super like hyperextended, and basically they take a needle, fine needle, and they poke it, and like they take cells off of it to like test it to see if it's cancerous basically. And there was 4 needles, and well, they did it 4 times, and each time they would probably scrape it probably like 20 times. So that's 1 needle, they poke in it, and you can feel every poke. It was the strangest feeling ever, because I was like, I don't know if, like, they're like, it hurts, but it's more uncomfortable than it hurts. And so they did the first 2, like, you know, they poke it and scrape it like 20 times, that's 1. And then they did it again, and they poked it, and then after they did 2, they were like, do you want to take a break? Like, are you okay? And I was like, just go ahead. And I remember holding the nurse's hand or somebody, and I was squeezing it so hard because the last 2 hurt so bad, because I mean they went like on the top, on the side, on the bottom, like they went all around it, and I could feel it. Like, that to me is just, that was the worst. So after that they were done, and they were like, you're gonna have to sit up really slowly. So I sat up slowly, and I was like, okay, I'm good, I'm perfect. They're like, okay, do you want to sit here and take a minute before you like walk out to your car? They said for somebody to come with you to drive you home after, just in case you're not feeling okay. But she was at work, I was at home, so I drove there. We both had separate cars. So, and you're not allowed to eat before, wait, I don't know, you might have been able, I don't know. I didn't eat that morning. All I remember is I really wanted Taco Bell for lunch, and so I was so focused on getting Taco Bell after, and this is a true story. And so I'm start walking with my mom, and I remember I was holding paper, and we get out, and it was in June, so it was hot. As soon as I stepped outside and hit that heat, I don't know what happened. My vision went black. I got super dizzy. I was like, I told my mom, I was like, hold the papers. She's like, are you okay? And I was like, I don't know. So she walked me to my car, and I sat in the car, and she's like, are you okay to drive? And I'm like, I think I'm good. There's an airplane. So I'm sitting in my car, and she's sitting in her car. We're parked beside each other, and we're looking at each other, and I'm like, you know what? I'm good. I'm going to Taco Bell for dinner, or for lunch. I am good. So I drive myself to Taco Bell, because it's like right beside the hospital. And then I remember I went home and I took a nap, and then I had to wake up and go to another doctor's appointment for school, and like I might have had a band-aid on it, I don't remember. They're like super tiny needles, so I'm sure you couldn't even see it. But I remember I had to wake up and go to another appointment for school, and I remember that week because that week I had like 4 doctor's appointments in 1 week, and 2 were for like thyroid, and the other 2 were for school. It was super stressful. I was told by my surgeon that it was a nodule, and I'm like, okay, well, that's great. So after that, you basically just wait for results, and I don't remember how many days it was, but I do remember it was July 7th, and I was home alone, and I got a phone call from my doctor, from Jennifer, and which I don't really think I 100% agree with the way that they handle this, because this is kind of big news, I guess. But basically, I was told over the phone that I had cancer. And to me, that's like breaking up over text message. Like, really? Like, that's just kind of like, what? So, yeah, she was like, you have thyroid cancer. She told me, like, I already knew it was a nodule. So she was like, your nodule is 30% cancerous. And I was like, okay. Like, it's not it's not the worst news in the world, I get that, but it's just like a different feeling when like your body produces cancer cells. Like, it's just kind of not the most exciting news in the world. I had to get myself ready, go back to another doctor's appointment for school, and I was on the way back, and I was passing Wendy's house, my cheerleading coach, and I stopped at her house. I told her the news. My cancer, it was there's no chemo, there's no radiation, there's nothing like that. It's just kind of like surgery. They just take it out and it should be fine. So I was like, it's just gonna be surgery, it's not a big deal. She had that surgery, so I was like, it's okay. We were trying to schedule surgery, and school started for me in August, and it was a year program. It wasn't affecting me. I wasn't having like hormone changes. I wasn't like losing weight. Like, I was just normal me. Like, if it wouldn't have been for Wendy, honestly, I would have never ever known about it, because it's just like I had to dig for it. Like, it's just, I don't know, I must have, my doctor, he was like, you must have been digging for gold in there or something. And so we scheduled surgery, and thankfully we got it before school started. It was 6 days before school started. It was August 11th, 2016, and I had to be there at like 5 something, and my aunt from Ohio came down, and I remember Amber spent the night with me that night, and I rode with her to the hospital, and we jammed out to Disney music. I think it was Lilo and Stitch and The Lion King, I think. Honestly, like, that time of the morning wasn't early for us, because at the doggy daycare, we both worked there, and we'd have to be there like 5 something in the morning, so it wasn't dramatic for me to get up that early. Now for my like surgery part of the story. I go into a room, I'm laying in bed, and they give you medication that is supposed to calm you down, and granted, I'm 20, so I'm technically underage, and my mom, my dad, my Aunt Sherry, and my grandma were in the room, and Amber was sitting beside me. They gave me the medication, and the nurse was like, it'll probably make her start laughing. Sometimes it relaxes people, sometimes it makes people laugh. Obviously, I started dying laughing. I just remember, like, I could not stop giggling, and I whispered to Amber, even though I do not think I whispered this at all, but I literally leaned over and whispered, I feel like I'm drunk, to Amber in front of my parents and my aunt and my grandma. So that was fun. So I guess this is also the medication that makes you not really remember stuff. I don't know. I don't remember getting rolled like down the hallway. I just remember getting into an OR and looking back, like, that was, I already had orientation for school, so I kind of knew some stuff about an OR, but barely none. I get rolled into an OR, and I like start pointing out stuff. I'm like, that's my back table, that's the Mayo. I was probably like talking their ears off and annoying them. And like looking back, I had my surgery where I did my clinicals the next summer. This doesn't even feel like the hospital I had surgery. I don't remember any of these rooms or any of the hallways. I don't remember anything. I remember waking up and the first thing, like, you're taught in school, the first thing that comes back and the first thing to go for surgery is hearing. I remember hearing before I could see, and I remember opening my eyes, and right in front of me was the clock, and I was trying to read the time, but I was like, this like just can't happen. I can't do it. They took the little tube out of my throat. She gave me some water and some pills, and how I managed to swallow those, I must have been super numb still, I guess. The next thing I remember is sitting in a wheelchair outside, because I didn't stay at the hospital. I went home that day. I remember sitting in a wheelchair waiting for my dad to pull up the car. I was in the car. We were waiting for my Aunt Sherry to get back from the gift shop, and I felt like I was going to vomit everywhere. I didn't tell anybody that because I'm not the one to make a scene. Okay, I have a crazy dog. I'll admit that. My dog is absolutely insane, but my parents were so, like, strung on of, like, they were so, like, Loki can't be in your room, you don't want her to jump on your neck. And I'm like, if I'm, like, sleeping all day and laying in my bed, my dog is gonna be with me. And she was chill. Like, they just don't understand. When it's just me and her, she's not hyper, because, like, me and her, we're over each other. That low-key pissed me off. I don't remember walking into my room. I don't remember getting into my bed. I don't know if you can see it. I obviously had, like, bandages, like, from here to here. And it's, like, right. Like, that incision is right. Like, it's in the worst spot. Like, I've always, from the day of surgery to today, I will always say I don't wish neck surgery on my, like, biggest enemy. Like, neck surgery is terrible. So terrible. Like, swallowing isn't as bad as you think it is, just because, like, that's on the inside. It doesn't really, like, do much. But, laying down, like, holding your head up, the first, like, 4 days, if I had to sit up, like, I'm already laying down. I'd hold my head like this, and my mom, my ex, my best friend, whoever came in the room to help me sit up to take pills, I'd hold my head like this, and they would grab my elbows and, like, pull me up. And, like, there was no straining your neck at all. And then to lay back down, I would just, like, hold my head and I would just, like, flop back. Like, I was like, oh my god, this is terrible. And, like, I couldn't sleep on my sides. Like, there was no picking my head up. The worst pain in the world. 6 days after my surgery, I'm supposed to be out for a whole week of everything, but on the 6th day was my first day of school, so I had to go to school with these ugly, almost week-old bandages on my neck, and my teacher knew about it. I told her, like, I emailed her and called her, like, she knew about the whole thing, and I was going to get my stitches out that day. So she came up to me before class was over and was like, hey, how's everything? We're all good. Oh, should probably say, during surgery, I've completely forgot about this, the nodule was on my right side. Before surgery started, me and my family, they didn't know if he was going to take out the whole thing or just half, because since it was on the right side, because we didn't know if, like, this side had cancer. So during surgery, they took out my right half, they tested the left half, it was cancer-free, so he only ended up taking out the right half. So I'm not on any, like, permanent medication, no nothing, thank the Lord. That's my cancer story. Nothing too dramatic, but it definitely was something that has impacted my life. A little side story is, I was going to clinicals one day, and I always feel my neck because I'm kind of, like, paranoid it's gonna pop up on my left side one day. And I was driving to the hospital I had surgery at, and I felt a lump on my right side, and I hysterically started crying. I called my mom. It's like 6 in the morning. I called my mom crying, and I'm freaking out. Like, I'm gonna have to have surgery. The cancer's back. I get to the hospital. I'm, like, walking inside, crying in the parking lot still. I put my scrubs on, sitting in the lobby, like, waiting for my surgery to start because I get there super early. And I'm sitting there with one of my students, and I think she could tell something was wrong, but I didn't even want to, like, talk about it. I didn't even want to bring it up. Like, I don't think anybody in my class even knew I had a thyroidectomy. I went to a doctor. It was a lymph node, so that little bump everybody has it. Amber was like, I have that. So, you know, thank the Lord that was just a lymph node that was like, I think it was like swollen, like my allergies were kicking or something. I don't know. So